Hi, I'm Dr. David Dobson. Welcome to Conversations. Today, my guest is Dr. Paul Fontaine. Paul is an associate professor in the School of Communication at the University of Fraser Valley. He holds a PhD in Communication Studies from McGill University. His research interests include media representation and diasporic communication. It's a great pleasure to have you on my show, Paul.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here chatting with you today.
Paul, I would like to start by talking about your career path. You have a background in journalism and then you transition into academia. What inspired you to move from journalism to academia?
Well, I finished my undergraduate degree at UBC in English literature, and then I found that there wasn't a ton of job openings with that background. So I decided journalism. I grew up in a family where there was a love of reading the newspaper. So I became a journalist and was a journalist happily for 5, 6 years, and then I started to realize something about myself, which is I don't like to be rushed. I
Yeah,
don't like to rush.
yeah,
And having to
yeah,
try to
yeah,
figure out an issue,
yeah,
talk to people, and
mm,
feel confident
mm,
that I sort of
yeah,
was realistically portraying the issue or conveying the issue. I never felt that. I
mm,
always felt like I wanted more time. And then, as an academic, we do
yeah,
have time.
yeah,
So
yeah,
we don't have time. We don't have as much time as you'd like to do research, but we
yeah,
do have, if we
yeah,
want to dig into an issue, we are sort of
yeah,
setting the agenda
yeah,
of when we are going to feel comfortable talking about it and know enough about it to
yeah,
feel confident to speak about it. So
yeah,
it was really just figuring out sort of how my brain worked and what I liked
yeah.
and then going that way.
Oh, wonderful. Uh, Paul, how has your experience in journalism influenced your teaching?
My teaching, it's been well, it's good. So I think of journalism and academia in similar ways. You're taking
Mm,
something complex and you're
mm,
translating it to
yeah,
a sort of a diverse audience, right? So,
yeah,
with my background's in communication studies, so I can take a sort of a a complex theory and I can break it down and make
mm,
it understandable. Similar
mm,
to when I was a journalist and I would talk
mm,
to the police
yeah,
and they would use police talk, and then I would
yeah,
have to translate that police talk to
mm,
here's what they mean by this, right?
mm,
So I
mm,
think there was definitely a lot of that concise, that work of translating, making things
mm,
understandable or
yeah,
accessible. I think
yeah,
that definitely has helped with the teaching. Yeah,
wonderful.
yeah.
Yeah. So, kind of follow up on the same idea. How has your journalism background also shaped your research interest, like media representation and diasporic communication?
Hmm. Well, I was a reporter in Abbotsford,
Yeah.
so I
Mm,
had the pleasure of working with and meeting a lot of Punjabi Canadians, Punjabis in Abbotsford, and
yeah.
through that time,
Yeah.
I started thinking about the way that coverage of that community or those communities was happening in mainstream press,
Mm,
and I said, well, going back to what he said, I want time to think about this. I
mm,
want to see what this mainstream coverage is actually doing,
mm,
and then I want to find if there's alternative spaces, journalistic spaces where issues of concern to members of that community and that
mm,
community as a whole are happening. And
mm,
I had the pleasure of talking to a number of publications, Punjabi Patrika and
mm,
the Link in Surrey, and and
mm,
and doing some work there for my master's, which is really
mm,
enlightening and a really great experience. And through that experience, um, I learned, I love the process of academia. What I brought with me as a
mm,
journalist
mm,
wasn't so much my focus is
mm,
I love journalism will always be,
mm.
even if I'm working on something apart from journalism, I'll look at
Yeah.
the coverage and I love news.
Yeah.
But it's also the way I communicate, like when I write. My writing is telling a story, it's straightforward, and I think some academic writing isn't that. It's
Yeah.
hard to understand. Right.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
again, it's that work of translation, trying to
Yeah.
make something that
Mm,
is complicated and
mm,
complex and
mm,
insightful, but trying to make it accessible to a larger audience. So
mm,
I like,
mm,
I like to talk to my students about work that I've done and that my
mm,
colleagues have done,
mm,
and I love when they understand it and they appreciate it, and they're able to. I think because I have that
mm,
background in journalism, I'm able to
mm,
break it down in a way that's
mm.
good for them and
Yeah.
good for me. Yeah,
Yeah.
it
For
helps me
sure. Yeah.
understand things.
Yeah. Wonderful. Paul, what are some of the current projects you're working on that you're most excited about?
Yeah, so I a research project that I got involved with about a year and a half ago. And this is the lead investigator on the project is at SFU,
Mm,
and they gathered up a bunch of instructors, a bunch of people from Langara,
mm,
UFE,
mm,
um, where else? Selkirk, a
mm,
bunch of sort of lower mainland or BC
mm,
universities, and
mm.
we're looking at that period of transition between graduation and sort of the first years of career work
Yeah.
for Punjabi international students.
Mm,
So we wanted to find out what sort of supports are being
mm,
offered to them. What's that experience of,
mm,
okay, I'm done school. Now I'm
mm,
heading into the workforce. I'm paying my own bills.
mm. Yeah.
I'm an adult, right?
Yeah.
Essentially. And
Yeah.
what is that, and and negotiating the visa process as well.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
is that like for them? And
Mm,
are there people who are helping them, or are they sort
mm,
of having to navigate it themselves?
mm,
And then we also thought this was timely because
mm,
of the international student cap. So how are
mm,
they feeling about
mm,
their decision to come here
mm.
versus, potentially before the cap? So
Yeah.
yeah, it's been really interesting.
Yeah.
We're in the fun stuff now.
Mm,
I've been interviewing students, and
mm,
that's been really,
mm,
really great. And we're
mm.
probably going to start writing some things based on that project in the next
Yeah.
couple of months.
Yeah. Very
Yeah.
interesting project.
Yeah.
And your background, how it shaped your teaching and research is very, very interesting.
Yeah.
Paul, from your
Yeah.
experience, what advice would you give to a new academic who wants to build a research portfolio that reflect their unique interest?
Okay. So when we talked earlier about
Yeah.
about this question, I'm interested actually in your insight, because I think I've done it all. I know I've done it all wrong, but I followed my heart.
Yeah.
That's a
Yeah.
good thing. So I one of my PhD mentors once
Yeah.
said, you want to find your area, you want to
Yeah.
find the people that you want to talk to,
Mm,
and you want to really dig into that area. So
mm,
essentially he's saying specialize, like find your thing,
yeah.
which I've done for the most part, but
Yeah.
there's oftentimes I'll do a project based
Yeah.
on it
Yeah.
interests me, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I did I had
Mm,
my personal reasons for working with
mm,
Punjabi Canadians living in Abbotsford and Surrey and Langley, like that.
yeah.
That was coming from a personal place and
Mm,
family background and these
mm,
sorts of things. But I'm also Indigenous. So
yeah. Yeah.
now some of my research is going in that direction
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
Those two things, I can
Yeah.
find a way,
Yeah.
because I'm creative,
Yeah.
to overlap them or put them in conversation with each other. But
Mm,
really, they're just following two pieces of me that I wanted to
yeah.
explore, and
Yeah.
two things that I thought were two
Yeah.
a lot of avenues for research that I thought would be really useful
Yeah.
and could provide some insight, and I
Yeah.
just was curious, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I've done it wrong. Yeah.
Yeah, no,
I would tell a new academic, don't do that. I would say find your lane. They get in that lane. It's funny because I've just been through the tenure process, right?
yeah,
So they
yeah,
evaluate your work, and
yeah.
one of the comments was, in the past couple of years, also I have 3 children, so
Mm.
I blame them for whatever lack of productivity. But but also the work of research, like
Yeah,
I've read, I have a pile of books here on
yeah,
Métis studies that
yeah,
before you feel confident
yeah,
delving into that area,
mm,
that's the work of research, right?
yeah, yeah,
There's no deliverables at this point. There's just,
mm,
I'm reading a lot.
yeah, yeah,
And I'm
yeah,
trying to understand things. And I
yeah,
think
mm,
when you're switching
mm,
focus or when you're sort of
mm,
going in a number of different
mm,
directions, it just means you
mm,
want to feel confident,
mm,
not like you're,
mm.
an imposter in any of those
Yeah,
spaces, that
yeah,
you've done your
yeah,
work. So
yeah,
that's what
yeah,
I'm doing my work.
yeah. That's great, Paul. Uh, Given your background in journalism and your work on Indigenous communication, what role do you believe communication plays in fostering understanding and reconciliation in Canada?
Well, I think, similar to the way that I think about our role in
Mm,
indigenization or
mm,
any sort of movement
mm,
towards that, which
mm,
is understanding how important the spaces that we occupy
mhm,
and that we provide and that we facilitate and that we go into, right? Hopefully invited, right?
yeah, yeah,
How important they are to deconstructing colonialism, pushing back against it, colonial
mm,
practices,
mhm,
working with Indigenous students and being Indigenous myself and
mm,
figuring out sort of how to be responsible, right? And that's what
mm,
I try to provide. I taught an
mm,
indigenizing communications course, and I talked about
mm,
all the resources that are
mm,
available
mm,
to journalists, young
mm,
journalists,
mm,
hoping to cover issues
mm,
dealing with Indigenous peoples,
mm,
Indigenous communities, Indigenous individuals. So,
mm,
yeah, it's for me, it's about, you know, teaching journalists and teaching myself how to be a good ally and how to
yeah,
be supportive in those endeavors and that push
mm,
towards indigenization. And it looks different and it's often uncomfortable
mm,
and it should be.
mm.
And it's often difficult and it should
Yeah,
be.
yeah,
And I think just being prepared to do that work
mm,
is the first major part. So I talk to
mm,
young journalists and
mm,
anyone interested in
mm,
journalism
mm,
and also owning the past
mm,
and owning all
mm,
of the media coverage
mm,
that really did it, was
mm,
discriminatory, racist,
mm. Yeah, yeah.
culturally insensitive,
Mhm,
showing what that looks like as well. And that, we talked about the current research project. One of a side part of that was looking at mainstream journalistic coverage of international students.
mm.
And it's, there's a whole lot that's wrong there,
Yeah, it is.
right? So
Yeah,
there's,
yeah.
I think learning how to do things in a responsible,
Mm,
ethical,
mm,
um, just
mm,
way
mm,
is sometimes means looking at what it
mm.
looks like to not do that and
Yeah,
try to avoid that as much as possible. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Thank you. Paul, based on your journey, what one piece of advice you would give to aspiring journalists?
Um, I think if you're passionate about it,
Yeah.
just throw yourself into the news.
Mm,
Be a news hound.
yeah.
Consume all the news you can.
Yeah.
Be critical of it.
Mm,
Ask questions about it. Find your journalistic voice. I think
mm,
that's part of the fun as well. Just
mm,
like finding your academic voice,
mm,
finding your voice as a communicator
mm,
is it's
mm,
a difficult journey, but it's
mm.
it's something that I consume a lot of news. Now I'm in the car a lot. I have kids, so I'm taking them to practices. So I'm listening to the news podcasts
Yeah.
and doing the best I can to
Yeah.
stay up to date on everything. But yeah, it's just I tell young journalists consume a lot of
Mm,
different things.
mm,
Read,
mm,
listen,
mm, mm,
immerse yourself in it,
mm, mm.
and then find out where your voice fits in that. What can you contribute to that,
Yeah.
to journalism,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
where do you want to fit in within that ecosystem? And
Yeah.
also, I talk about journalism now,
Mm,
and I was a journalist a long time ago now,
mm,
so it's changing. So I'd
mm.
say also be adaptable because
Yeah.
it's an ever-changing industry.
Mm,
Yeah.
yeah. So I want to pick up on the last point, ever-changing industry. You know that AI is making a big splash in pretty much everything we do in our life, and that also affect the journalism, the way we cover our news. What is your take, the adoption of the AI in journalism? Do you fear about the how the news portrayed and how people create news or questions, or do you think it could be a good resource?
Well, I'm fearful in that we
Mm,
started
mm,
like journalism in like let's say
Yeah.
Canada, for example, has always had to justify itself, right? Like
Yeah.
they've
Yeah.
always had to justify that they're serving the public good.
Yeah.
And there's times where, it appears as if on different cases they haven't been necessarily, but that's
Mm,
been the argument. They are
mm,
supposed to be a watchdog,
mm,
hold powerful people accountable, and
mm,
provide us with the information that we need to make informed decisions.
mm,
That work is less and less valued. So we can
mm,
see by, the fact that,
mm.
Canadian news outlets can't be found through Meta, right? Like
Yeah.
they like right?
Yeah.
We have the sort of barring of Canadian content from really
Yeah.
important platforms.
Yeah.
So, there is a devaluing of content. Maybe
Mm,
not, people haven't
yeah.
said get rid of it, but
Yeah.
are they going to miss it from these platforms?
Yeah.
And how long can media outlets exist with just the Google funding that we receive? We've
Yeah.
received the first part now,
Mm,
and are they going to want to continue that? So
mm,
I think what I'm fearful about with AI is that the people who I believe
mm,
I believe in news gathering, I
mm,
believe in rigorous,
mm.
approach to news gathering, and I believe in the craft of writing news.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm afraid that there will be something lost in that translation
Mm,
when AI starts
mm,
doing some of those tasks.
mm, mm.
Um,
Yeah.
and I talk with my professional communications, my sort of applied communications courses. I talk about, AI can handle the sort of the data collection and
Mm.
I don't love the idea generation because I like when my students come up with their own ideas. I
Yeah.
think that's a tool, that's an
Yeah.
important function
Yeah.
of university to provide space to do that. But
Mm,
if I'm working with a client and they want me to create a communications plan, are they going to feel comfortable with AI creating that plan? I don't think we're
mm,
there yet.
mm,
But will people care if AI writes the news? Do they value journalism in that same way? Right? I don't know.
mm.
And
Yeah.
I'm afraid to find out.
Mm. Yeah.
Right? So
Yeah.
you know, I when I became a journalist in 2005, 2006, you know, there was a real push towards getting away from your desk and going to talk to people,
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
get off the phone,
Yeah.
get into the community.
Yeah.
You have to be there. You have to have that interpersonal communication. And I'm afraid that that's going to go away, right? And it's
Mhm.
not even getting like we won't even have like it won't
Mm.
even be two people involved in the data collection,
Mm.
right? It can be scouring Facebook posts and
Mm.
and
Mm.
looking at search histories and these sorts of things. And I think you are losing something important there, and
Mm.
that worries me.
Mm.
Um, I still have to, obviously I find ways to use it in the course, which are
Mm.
ways that I'm excited about, that the courses that I teach. But when it comes to journalism, I'm nervous. I'm nervous, David. I'm nervous.
Rightly so. Looking ahead, what's next for you, Paul?
Well, I'm excited. I'm actually developing at the university associate for certificate program.
Mm.
I believe it's associate certificate.
Mm.
3 courses on Métis. So on
Oh,
the Métis.
nice.
So we're going to start offering those hopefully, if everything goes according to plan, 2026
Mm.
fall. So
Mm.
I'm starting to develop those, and we're going to put together a program working group and do all those things to try to create a curriculum that will inform, provide a space for people who aren't made
Mm.
to sort of
Mm.
get to know what that is, and then
Mm.
for any Métis students, give them a space to explore their own history
Mm.
and their own culture, which is very important. So, yeah, I'm excited about that, and then my research is going in that direction as well. So, I'm hoping to finish my Shirk application for an Insight grant this fall,
Nice.
dealing with Métis studies and my current research in that area.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Paul, thank you for sharing your inspiring journey and your interesting research.
Thank you, David. It's been a real pleasure, and thank you for inviting me. You're such a sort of a jubilant personality. First time meeting you, but you're such a jubilant online personality that I'm excited to put a face to a name.
Thank you.